Hey guys, hello, Ute Kurav, yes, live stream every day. How are you doing? How is everyone? Yeah, today we're going to be making this subway tunnel, and I think it's a good subject for texturing. As you can see, there is a lot of texturing going on here, and yeah, we can use this chance to look at texturing. So, how is everyone? And you could let me know if the audio levels are good, so we can get started. But yeah, let's set up our scene as we wait for more viewers to come in. Just bring my camera here. Turn on screen keys, and yeah, so this is actually a very simple tunnel. If I look at it, most of the work is done through texturing. The shapes are very simple. I have a few cables. These rails shouldn't be that hard. Everything else looks super simple. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with the profile of the tunnel. So I'm just going to use a mesh and just scale it a bit, something like this, and we can subdivide this a few times, and I'll just get rid of the inside faces by just selecting them, hit F, or just select all the edges in the vertices in the middle, hit X, so we can get something like that. And if you use the shortcut Shift Alt S1, you can turn that into a circle. But we can also just change the proportionality here, the factor here, so that we have somewhat, not a perfect circle, but something close to that. And I think we can scale this down a bit. And we can subdivide this using the subdivision surface. Yeah, so how is everyone's day? How are you guys doing? Hello, Burning Bright. Hello, Stanis. Hello, One True King. Yeah, hey, Akising. Okay, so my chat is not updating in the live stream here. Let me just refresh this page and see. Okay, so yeah, seems like things are loading. Okay, so let's continue here. I usually like to apply my subdivisions so that I don't have a lot of unnecessary geometry. Hello, Geogos, Faraz, how are you doing? Hope everyone is doing great. I'm going to apply this, the geometry here. Hello, Raj, the gamer. Do you have any course to learn Blender? I have a course on Udemy, but it's very old. I will hopefully make an updated one later, but yeah, the one on Udemy is way back. It's something I was using back then, I think 2.5, so it's a lot of things have changed, so I would need to first update that. So let's just get rid of these faces and we can have something like that. We can go inside the camera for a second here, just zoom in. I'm going to change my focal length to 25 so that we get a wider view like that, maybe shade smooth. Looking great. We can subdivide this and have something like that. So, Raj the gamer, is there anything specific you want to learn about, or do you want to learn just the beginner stuff, or do you want to learn animation? Do you want to learn, what exactly do you want to learn specifically, if you don't mind me asking? And so to make this bend like you see here, we're just going to use a curve object. I'm just going to scale this up, rotate it 90 degrees, just turn it to automatic, and just make the bend using a curve like that. something like that. So now I can use the curve modifier, select this, select the curve. I am a beginner like your tutorials. Okay. I have a few tutorials on here that you can start from as I'm working on a course. Okay, so let's apply the rotation so that we get something like this. And now this array has to be above the curve for this to bend correctly. So something like that. Then we can increase. Here's a nice tip. If you change the fixed to curve, to fit curve, and select the curve, then the curve object or the array will take up the length of the curve, but you need to apply the scale of the curve and the scale of the object, so that I've scaled is too much. So I'm just going to, all right. So that when you select the curve and make more extrusion, the object also extends as well. So, but that's not what we're going to do now. Yeah, so this is where we at. Let's start working on some basic lighting. I'll turn off the wall lighting for now, and maybe you can work in the environment here. And so one of the things when you're working with an object like this is that you would have to move every light, reposition every light one by one. But there's a nice trick to use modifiers to have your lights follow the curve or follow any object. So that it seems like you're adding the modifiers directly to the curve, to the lights, since lights don't really have modifiers. So what you can do is say you have, we can just duplicate this object itself, the tunnel. We only need a few vertices. So I'm just going to select. So I want the lights to be positioned in the same position as this. So I'll just select this edge loop and the edge loop this side. Then invert the selection and delete all the other vertices, and just make sure that I'm selecting invert. So we have this, which is going to take up the same position as our object. Now what you can do is go to any of the edge, go to the curve object you have just created. Let me first hide this tunnel. Bring the light you want to duplicate, parent it to the curve object or to the mesh you have just duplicated with the modifiers, and then select the object. Then in instancing, you can turn on vertices, and you can see that now the lights have been duplicated on every vertex we have, but they're not aligning to where we want it. So what we can do is just first reposition. What you can do is select the mesh, cursor selected, and then select the lamp selection to the cursor, so that your lamp share the same position as the mesh with the modifiers. But right now our lights are too much. So what I can do, I can come in here and start getting and I can get rid of some of the lights. So I'm going to get rid of these, and this, so that we only have that many. And if I want to add more, I just have to subdivide, and you can see I can add another light. Hello Shivan Vopra, never stop making these videos. Cheers. Thank you. Maybe in my old days hopefully I won't be making these videos, because I'm imagining being 60 or 70 years still making YouTube tutorials. Hopefully if I'm doing that, it will be out of choice, not out of situation. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm just going to grab this. You can see that everything is lit up, and the great thing about this is that now we can select our light, and you know what, let me make sure that these objects share the same positions, so that is easier for us to control. So I'm just going to push this back a little bit. Also make sure that the light. Okay, so I'm going to push. I can actually parent this to this object as well. Just grab this tunnel and bring it back and maybe move it up a little bit. You can see that our light is give update in further if you release any course. Sure, I will try to do that, but right now I'm caught up with a few other things. I'm creating add-ons, but I'll see what I can do, man. Let's see what I can do. Let me reduce this light of this. So I'm just going to select this light, and since these are just instances of this, I can control 1 and all the lights will change like so. Okay, so now I can make an instance or a copy of this, Shift D, so that, or we can just add a plane like this, and select this, Control L to link all modifiers, and we should have the same thing here. You can see we can start creating our rail. This already has the array modifier, has the curve modifier, so we are good to go. How much time it took you to learn Blender? So I started learning Blender around, I think 2008. Yeah, but I wasn't consistent because I was still in school, so I was off and on. So we want to have this as an array, but I don't want to be jumping out of this view and onto another view. So what I can do is duplicate, because this is going to be our rail. So what I can do, I can use Alt D and just make a copy, an instance copy. So if I make changes to this, they will reflect in the other object. And for this object, we don't really need any of the modifiers that we have for that. And now I can work within this. So I can just move this to the side. This is going to be our rail, and you can see the changes have been reflected to this. And I can use a mirror modifier, but that we also have to add it to this because the modifiers are not transferred to the instance. So I'm just going to do that, but make sure that this is above the array so that our rail goes like so. So then we can just play around with this and create the profile of the rail, which should be something, I think. And I think what we could do is just first work on the profile and then extrude from there. So this should be something like a T shape or H shape. So I'm just going to extrude this down. The base is usually a little bit wider like that, and then extrude down again. I can get rid of these edges. They're not necessary. So we have our profile, and we can use the bevel modifier to bevel some of these edges, or we can just bevel it directly. So I'm just going to grab this because the profile is always a bit kind of bent up like that. I'm going to bevel this as well. Control B to have something to make the corners a bit smooth. I can see the shortcuts I'm using here. So you guys, what else could do, might you want to learn that so that I can see if I can make a tutorial about those. And maybe this is a bit softer like that. This is also carved in like this, and then this as well. But this is going to be a little bit thinner. Now we need to extrude this like so, add in a few edge loops, and you can see now we have our rail done, and I think looks good. I'm just going to bring it up a tiny bits, just something like that. Then what else do we need to do? So we have this already, and the other thing we can do is we can start adding in these details. So let me just extend this maybe a little bit like that. So we have like that, something like that. I like how this detail comes in. So I'm just going to go into edit mode, add a plane. No, add a cube. These are going to be the wooden, I don't know how they call them, but these kind of wooden blocks. They're not exact. this design doesn't use them, but we're not copying one for one. We're going to make a few changes to ours so that we're just using that as inspiration. So I'm just going to grab this Ctrl B to bevel, round them off just a bit, and I can shade smooth and then also turn on auto smooth. So we have, and you can see now we are bringing in those shapes inside. I like working like this because I don't have to worry about other modifiers too much. I just have to work on one piece, and yeah. Okay, this is what we have now, and now we can create this. I don't know how it's called, and I think these, we need a few of these, but for now let's first work with one. We need this kind of locking system. So if we start with, we can also go working within edit mode, or we can do this outside edit mode so that we can use some modifiers to make our life a little bit easier. Now just scale this in, do something like this, and I think I can extrude this. And now if I grab these vertices, I can put my cursor here and I use the spin tool to spin like this. Now the curve doesn't really look as I want it, so I can just bend it a bit, or maybe let's try first bending it the other side. Maybe let's reduce on the number of points. C, increase. Yeah, I think it goes this side. It doesn't really go fold the other way around. So you can fold this and increase the number of segments, something like that. You can scale this on the x-axis, shade smooth, auto smooth, and we can also use a bevel modifier for this. If you turn on wireframe, you can see how the bevel is affecting this. So I can reduce this to something. Maybe let me first apply the scale for this. Okay, something like that. Turn on hardened normals, turn off wireframe. So we have, I think this is a bit wider, so I'm going to make it so, like so. Then this look, I can't really tell how this lock mechanism is working, but I think there is some kind of strap here, so I can just add a plane and I just follow the shape and just go into a different view like this. Let me grab this, extrude, and then make that shape like that. And I want this to be rounded, so I'm using Ctrl B. Hello Organic Studios, how are you doing? How was your day? How is everyone's day? So going to extrude that. You can see the shortcuts I'm using here. So and then we have something like that. It lacks thickness, so I'm just going to use Alt E, extrude along normals, and I should have something like that, or just drag it down like that. And I'm great. How are you? I'm great too. Thanks for asking. So we have these. I think this is a bit shorter. Awesome. One awesome tutorial. Thank you. I'm glad you guys find these useful. This is going to be our locking mechanism. I think we can add, is it a bolt or a screw around here? To do that is very easy. We can just add a circle and reduce the number of segments. So you can see what we have. Hello, Walker 120 12881. How are you doing? So let's use 8. Scale this down just like that. And this is going to be our bolt and screw. So I can hit F to turn it into a face, extrude up like that. Actually, before I turn it into a face, I first get rid of these vertices and select the face itself like that. Insert it to make it something like that. I'm wondering if this is necessary. Let's do it that way. Extrude up like so. Hello, Ajan Goel. How are you doing? So what time is it for you guys out that side. You can see mine is 11:17 p.m. Not very early, but yeah. So you can see what we have, but these are too sharp, so I'm just going to use. Hello, I'm not sure how to read that name, but hi, how are you doing? Sudu Pangain, hi man, I think you forgot to make the past live stream playlist. I asked yesterday. I was really hoping to get the playlist. I was planning to watch all this weekend. I think I have the playlist. I just didn't share it because let me see if I can. That will probably show some information I don't have. I shouldn't show, but the playlist is there, exists, but I just forgot to share it, unfortunately. But I'll try to share it today. So that's our bolt. Jogos Faraz, for you it's 11:18, exactly mine. You might think we are in the same country. Selame? Okay, so then just going to grab these edges, these inside edges, we don't need them. And it's not, I am not PM. So it's PM on your side. Mine is also AM. So it's exactly the same time. Maybe we are in the same, what is it called? We are in the same, I'm forgetting what it's called. We'll scale this down. I think we need, okay, so that's going to be our bolt. Now let's create our screw. I'm just going to add a circle. This one should have about 16 segments. Scale it in. I am from Greece. Yeah, I think we are in the same time zone. Greece is around the same time zone. I'm in East Africa. So yeah, we are on the same, is it longitude, latitude? I don't know. That same, yeah, I'm not sure what's called. Extrude. You want to extrude this up, and this is going to be our bolt. I'm also going to insert it a bit and drag it up just a bit, like that. Shade smooth, auto smooth, and I will have something like that. Yes, time zone. Hello, burning bright. Hello, everyone. Ajan Jo, I am from India. Here it is 1:49 p.m. So you are something like, okay, you are quite ahead of us, maybe something like 5 hours ahead. No, actually, is it? Oh, you are like 2 hours ahead, not 5. Not that much. So now we want to add in these screw ridges. I'm just going to add a few subdivisions and then Control B. Actually, before we do that, you can use the shear modifier, the shear tool, to kind of make them a bit like that. And maybe that's a bit too much. Something like that. And then Control B. You only need 3 vertices. So like that. Then Control minus to only select the middle one, and then Alt S to either push that in or push that out, like that, and we have ourselves a screw. Cheers from Finland. Just see if now how are you? How is Finland? I hear it's cold there. Is it in Finland where you sometimes have a whole month of only daytime or only nighttime? That's quite interesting because I think I saw the making of Oblivion. Was it filmed in Finland? I think it was filmed in Iceland, not Finland. The name's kind of a bit confusing, but yeah, they have times where they only have nighttime, no daytime, which is, I guess, fun, but can get frustrating. So I'm just going to grab these, Ctrl J. Before I do that, I'm just going to apply the modifier, the array, the bevel modifier, then join these. So we have that. I think this one has to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to scale it up so that it looks somewhere like that. Hello from Peru, Latin America. It's 3:21 a.m. So that, are you also ahead of us, or are you in? Or is that a different day? Because today is Saturday on my side, so maybe you are way behind. That's also possible. Oh. Yeah, so yeah, we're ahead of you, I guess, because you're saying it's AM. So that's the same day, but earlier. So this is what, let me turn on ambient occlusion here. Sometimes I like to have it, the factor set to something high, so that the ambient occlusion is higher, is kind of pronounced, more pronounced. And this is going to be our, this, I can also just join into this. Yeah, we can join it, and I can select this, Control L, and then invert, so that I only get this. Shift D, duplicate it a few times, and now we have that. So this is what we have so far. So yes, in summertime the sun never sets, and in winter the sun goes down around, yeah. So if it doesn't set, maybe that's a fun time. You can go out at night, you can go to the beach out at night, but what about when you, how do you tell when to leave work? Do you just tell from the time? Because if you have a really bad boss, he might tell you that you should keep working as it's still daytime. Guess. Oh, okay. This also has to be on the other side. So I'm just going to select this. Hello from PM. Hello is 11:52 in India. So what part of India? I know India is quite large. It's almost the size of a small continent, I think. Or am I wrong? So this is what we have now. So let's start working on some texturing and see how. ETC, end of thinking capacity. This is my first live stream on this channel. I'm glad you are here to join us. Okay, so let's start texturing this. I could use my asset library because I have quite a lot of materials already set up there, but let's do everything from scratch this time around and see how this is going to go. So let's start by creating some kind of wooden texture for this, and then create a metallic texture, and then a rusted metal for these other parts. Hello, Aton. Thank you, sir. No problem. Glad you are here too. So let's create a new material. I'm going to use a texture, an image texture. I will find that in my resources. Let me look for some wooden texture. We're going to blend a few of them to get something good. So this is what we have, and I can just do a quick box projection just so we can see how this is going to look here. And I can also use, maybe instead of using UV, I can use this. For now, because it seems that the array is a bit slowing down the computation here, my viewport, I'm going to first turn it off so that we just work on this. Which graphics card are you using? Are you planning to upgrade soon? Is current one using UNIT? Yeah, it's of course, when you're doing 3D, you will never have enough memory, you never have enough graphics card, but this is what I'm using right now. I'm planning to upgrade maybe later, but for now this is still enough for me. I don't really do heavy stuff. I'm usually good at judging the kind of work I'm going to do, and usually make sure I stay away from anything that is going to be too heavy for my computer. So this is my CPU, this is my memory, this is my GPU. It's a 1060 3GB. Okay, you are right. India is quite large, but India follows one standard time, Indian standard time, so the whole India follows. Interesting. So, but I don't think that would be super accurate though. You would be off by at least a few minutes. I guess it doesn't really matter that much. So this is what we will have for this. Can blend this a bit. I want this to be going this direction, but that is usually difficult to change. It's always difficult to change the rotation of the UVs if you're using object mode. So I'm just object projection. So I'm just going to use UV and just select these here, Control L. I don't want to UV unwrap any of these. So let me see what options I have. Control L, unwrap, let me go to the top view, cube projection. Let's rotate this 90 degrees. Cube projection doesn't really affect that. If I do this, okay, that's still the same. Let's go with a smart projection, and that gives us something like that. I can also just grab this. Oh, we can. I don't want to do a lot of UV projection mapping, so let me just go with the object mapping. It's much faster, but these lines are going to stay like that. So our projection from view is good, but then the sides are not going to be well UV unwrapped. And so since we're going to blend this with multiple images, let me duplicate this. Hopefully that won't matter too much. I can also blend it with this. I'm just being a bit lazy. The way this is going is bothering me a bit. So let's change this. Let's try to play with the rotation. Sometimes if you put it to 45 and 45, you can get a better rotation on all sides. So let's try 90 here. Let's try 90 on this. We get this. And maybe just make this 45. This would be better. You know what? Let's just UV unwrap this because it's taking longer than I want. So I'm just going to add a few seams here. I guess this would be a good example of how you can unwrap something like that, like this. I'm just going to add edge seams or seams like that. Control E, mark seams, Control L, unwrap. And then we can look at this here. I will change this to UV, and then this to flat, and we can zero out the rotation again. And now we just have to go to the UV, switch to the UV map. Just split it here. Just select these and just rotate it. Now we have that. So I'm just going to select all these, Control L, get rid of them, and just reuse what I've just used the unwrapped, and just make it align like so. You can give the bottom slabs a different material and then change the rotation. These are going to actually, let me just do that quickly because it might confuse a few people. So let me just create a new metal material, because metals are usually easier to create than the others. So this is going to use a metal material. So let's apply that and create a new, give it a new texture. It should be metallic, and I should have, let's give it some grunge map. We are going to come back to this and make it perfect the material a little bit better. I'm just going to add some projection mapping here. This we can use object mapping, because the orientation of or the direction of the texture doesn't really matter a lot. So this is going to be our metal for now, and we can also use it for these other parts, or we can just select all the wooden parts, Control L, and then invert the selection and assign that. So that gives us a metal surface like that. Use pointness mask. Yeah, I can use pointness mask, but we are using Eevee, which doesn't support the pointness mask. So that's under geometry, pointness. You can see it doesn't really work, but if you switch to cycles, you can see that there is some detail there. So I just have to bring in the contrast. You can see that it works in cycles, but not in Eevee. And right now we're just working in Eevee, so that's why you see I'm not going to use that. Why don't you use instances instead of arrays? I could use that. I could use instances, but the problem with instances is you can't add modifiers to them. So for example, let me show you why we're not using instances. So this, we want to have this to bend around the curve, which you can't really do with instances. Because instances are empties which don't carry modifiers. Let's continue with the texturing here. So let's go back to the wooden material. Why is it? Okay, so what's going on? Okay, could someone please help me, tell me if the live stream is okay, because it seems that mine, let me see, maybe I'm in the wrong. Okay, sorry about that, but yeah, I switched out to a different view for some reason, but we're back. So let's continue with texturing here. So I want to blend these two materials so that I can get a better looking material. So I'm just going to use a mix node and just blend the two. I can use overlay and we get something like that. So this is a bit too stretch. Let's try multiply. We can try different blending modes until we get something that looks, sometimes even just using a mix node is enough. So if I go to my mix, just blend the two like that, and I think this is a bit too stretched. So instead of using the same geometry, the same coordinate nodes, I'm just going to switch them out so that I can scale this a bit differently, something like that. And I want this, yeah, it should use flat. And to add more details to the texture, I can still add another texture, something like this. We can use the same coordinate mapping, and just so you kind of, we're just trying to get a more rich material out of this. I think that looks much better. I can have this as the base color, and just have this as the roughness as well. If it's too bright like that, we can use color, mix RGB, or we can use a color ramp if you want to control the contrast of the roughness, and then add a mix RGB around there. This can be color 1, and then if you want to make this rougher, we can just bring the factor to 1. If you want to make it shiny, we can bring it to there, and we can play with the contrast here. Can play with the contrast. Let's first see how this looks here. Something like that. Make it more rough. Then we can also reuse this as a bump map. Let's see. So I want to invert this so that is the other way around. Yeah, something like that. And if we want, we can play with the different factors here to get a slightly different look of this. I want this to be a little bit rough, something like that. And I think this should extend a little bit in like that. Hello. Sorry, I can't speak whatever language is that, so I can't really understand it. So this is our metal. We want it to be a little bit rusted, and maybe before we do that, let's add some concrete surface to this because it looks a bit too plain. And what I'm going to do is first UV unwrap this tunnel, so I can just actually maybe using projection mapping would be better for this. So I'm going to get a texture, image texture, but instead of creating the texture from scratch, because that takes a lot of time, I'm going to use some of the materials I've already created previously. So, and maybe use that as a base point. This is going to be our concrete wall. I just need to change the projection, the UV projection to object and box. Maybe scale this up a bit. I can change the position of the Z. Yeah, something like that. Now you see a lot of seams. If you're seeing a lot of seams like that, you can use the blend mode and kind of blend them a bit so they're not really going away here, which is okay because we're going to use other materials for that space, for that area. And there is this kind of ditch that lets water go out. So we can also add that in. Just going to select a few vertices here, maybe add in a few edge loops. Hey, thank you for subscribing, Marcus Kaufman. Really appreciate it. Organic Studios, how are you doing? Can you make a tutorial on light dispersion through a prism? I think I've done something like that. I don't really remember the name of the tutorial, but I think I've done something like that. Maybe I can do it again later, but not really now. Just going to add that ditch in. Yeah, if you're new here and you would like to sub, that would be amazing. We do live streams almost every day. Actually, this should be extended a little bit to the left so that it's in the center, somewhere there. Grab this, extend it there. So this is what we have so far. Let me go back to the lighting. Yeah, so I think I don't like how this is too rounded in some areas. So it's too smooth here. So I'm just going to bring in a few edges to make it look a bit sharp. And for the bottom as well. Yay! Thank you, Noel Simons, for subscribing. Really appreciate it. You can also say hi in the chat so that I know what you are up to, man. Okay, so this is what we have so far. I think we can continue working on extra details, and maybe this is a bit too rounded in some areas. For example, here I'm just going to just flatten it a bit, maybe just so that is and I think my station is a bit also too narrow, so I'm going to extend it just a bit, and that might also require me to kind of bring it up a bit like that. And, so let's speed up this a bit further, and yeah, so that we can accomplish more. So I want these parts of this to be a bit rusted. So what I'm going to do is go back to that material, the matte material, and then I'm going to import in a rust material. So I'll just get in my resources, I think under walls I have a rusted material. Let's see, under details, nothing there. Go here, no, that's wood. Go back to my resources, walls, I have a rust material that we can use. I think that's there is this, but it's going to create a few issues because the details are too pronounced and they will look like they're tiling. So let's grab this here. Let me see what exactly this is, and I can UV unwrap this. Let's see, I can UV unwrap it from this edge. So Control E, Maxim, Control L, unwrap. And that should give us something like that. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. And if we look at this, just this, this is the texture of the rust. Maybe we need to change this to flat. and maybe make it a bit tiled so that we get in more details. And we can blend it. Hello Rega, how are you doing? We can blend it with another texture, another rust texture. Let's try, that's too tiled. Let's try this. Yeah, I think something like this would work. And now you can see the surface, the top surface is really not that, it's not really that rusted. It's only as you go down that you get some bit of rust. What we can do is create a mask that goes from top to bottom. So we can use an input geometry and try to get is it the position? Let's see if we get the position. We can add a vector mapping node, not displacement, a vector mapping node. Add grunge, but change the color to look less like rust. Yeah, that's an option I guess we can do. Maybe even we can get better details like that. So what I want to do is to create a top down mask. So I'm trying to see what kind of options do I have here. So this is the position. And it gives us a mask from the center here. So if I move this closer to the center, you see I get a mask like that. So that's not what we want. Let's try normal. And this is going to be dependent on the normal of the faces, which we can first check for these here, shift in so that we can recalculate them first. And I think instead of doing it this way, we can separate the X and Y. So if you use a convert separate X, Y, it can give you the individual directions. So we're using, this is combined. I want separate X and Y. So it gives you input at vector, and you can see we have a gradient going from left to right. We have a gradient going from, let me first apply the scale. Because this is an instance, we can't really apply it. We also have a Z gradient here, the gradient mask. So we can play with rotation. We can play with this positioning of this to see what we can get. Actually, if we just use, text, I think it's under convert. I'm trying to get the texture coordinates of the object. So let me just grab those. Now you can get the object coordinates. Let's look at these masks. So we have this. So this gradient, I think, goes from left to right. And we also have a gradient that goes from the front to the back, like that, in the X, in the Z, in the Y direction. We should also have a gradient that goes from top to bottom, which is exactly what we get here. Thank you for subscribing, Roman Shah Hitel. Really appreciate it. So now that we have this gradient mask, we can use the Z position to control the mask, and you can see we get that top-down mask. That is going to give us a mask for the rust. So to control that, we can use a color ramp. So we can make it more contrasted and choose what parts are that going to have that. But you can see it's very smooth in this area here. I want it to be a bit jagged, so I can use something like a grunge map. So let me find myself a grunge map to use here. Something that to break up that there. Now let's look at it for a second. That's how it looks. It's also too pixelated, so I'm going to scale it down so that we have, so that is more high resolution. Now I can blend this mask and this, and if you use something like color ban. Hello Rizo AR, how are you doing? Glad to see you back. if you use something like a color band, you can see that we create a more, instead of a smooth gradient, we get that, we break up that a bit, and we can play with the contrast of this. Or we can even just use something like a math node here, in between here, and change this to something like power. So we can make, oh, let's just use a color ramp so we can easily control the contrast of this, and you can see it makes the mask more pronounced. Let's try inverting this. Actually, it should be the other way around. So we have a much broken up mask that maybe we can push it a little bit down, or maybe even play with the contrast of this just a bit, something like that. So, and just have something like that. Maybe scale this down a little bit so we don't see a lot of tiling. Now what we can do, we already have the rust, which I want to blend. So we have a much more richer material. So let's use overlay and see. So this becomes a little bit too reddish, which I guess is okay. Maybe make it scaled a bit like that. So what we're going to do is blend it with a different color. So I'll just do Shift D. Which GPU do you have? I'm using a GTX 10. Is it a 1060 3GB? So we want to blend this, the rust, with a clear material. So this is going to be mixed. So one part is going to be fully clean, newish, the other is going to be fully rusted. And since we already have our mask, which I have created from the gradient, we can just use that as the factor here, and that's what we get. Now we can bring in our shader and start playing with this. So there are several ways you can approach this. You can feed this all into a single shader, or better, you can create a separate material for the rust and a separate material for the smooth areas. So that gives you a little bit more control than just mixing everything at the same time. So if we choose this to be like the clean part, we can create a new BSDF material. This is going to be our color. This rust here is going to be our color, because we're trying to create a separate material for the rust. So it will use this, and it's already looking great. We can get the roughness from the rust material. Just add a math node to control how much roughness you're getting. Usually rust is quite rough, so I think that's looking good. Let's see if we get rid of the metalness. Okay, I'm not sure which one looks better. Is rust metallic or non-metal? I'm not sure. So this is our rust material, and what we can do is create, like I said, a more cleaner material. But yeah, thank you, CG Wave. So what we can do is mix. I don't want this to be too rough, so I'm going to add a mixed RGB node and can make this darker. So I can blend with this, can play with this to make this look much smoother or rougher. So I want something around there. Now we can blend the mask. We can blend the rust with our mask. So this is the mask we have. We no longer need this. Thank you. So we just have to blend these two. I'm going to use Control Shift drag to the next one. Then great. and use this as a factor. Let's just give it a moment for it. And there we have it. So this is our surface. You can see it takes on that kind of, but you see, if you look closely, this has some kind of strips of friction or erosion going in. So what I can do is get this. Let's try scaling this on the there. Okay, so this is using object mapping, so I can duplicate this grunge map and try getting something that uses. So I want this to kind of look like stretched up, or to kind of simulate. Without metallic is good. Okay, let me get back to that for a second and see. So what was I doing? Okay, we want to kind of create those stretched reflections there. So what we can do is just grab. Can you make Iron Man nano suit up? I will have to first look at how it was set up and see. Yeah, so we want to have some kind of stretches, some stretching like that. Just so we have it kind of creates the illusion that you have had train tracks going onto the surface instead of. Which version are you using? I'm using 2.93, but any version you have should be able to work here. So let's grab this, blend this with this, and if we look at this, you can already see that we are getting those kind of stretched details in there. Now if you preview the final thing, and let's bring back, you can see the stretched details, and we can also just use them in those stretched details in the color or in the diffuse. So we can just have it already baked into the diffuse. Let's see how that would look. Yeah, I think that looks much better like that. So yeah, so you're saying that the non-metallic looks better. I think rust is non-metal, so yeah, you are right there. While I'm at that, let me make sure that this is, and I think we can also make it a little bit darker here. So this is going to the base color, so I can add. Which version is better? Please tell me. Yeah, I think usually the latest version is better because most of the bugs have been fixed, and you always get some new features as well. So I want this to be a little bit darker, maybe less saturated. Yeah, something like that. So we can come back to this and have our array on. Now it's looking better. Oh, glad it does. Okay, so our lighting looks a bit basic. So what I'm going to do is go into our lighting or our lighting strip, and we don't need to have that many lights. Yes, something like this looks much better, and our texturing also looks kind of basic. Where did you get so much strength from? I don't know, man. I am not sure. I guess I just have the energy, and I enjoy what I'm doing. So I guess that's why I kind of make a Tesla bot. That would be an interesting stream. So that would be amazing. Myself, I'm from India. That's great. A lot of people here are from India, so that's amazing. So let's make this texture a little bit more detailed. So let me look at it. It looks too basic for me. But yeah, so if you know about my quick add-on texturing add-on, it makes the texturing process much easier. Actually, let me activate it because I don't see it here. Quick decos. Because there are several ways you can texture this. You can add more texture nodes, which is quite a lot of work. You have to know what texture node you have to use. Let's first go to resources and maybe show you that way of doing it, and maybe the way I usually like to do it. So let's grab a rough texture, something. I think this could be good. So if we look at this, we need to change this to flat. Okay, I need to UV unwrap this. Control E, maxim, unwrap. Yeah, so this here, I think gives us a little bit of detail. Are my charts not visible? I think they are visible. So let me see. Can I use an entry-level laptop for my Blender work? I have to leave my PC behind. Do you call it? I guess it entry-level laptop. What are we talking about here? Is it like, what are your specs? Because it is going to depend heavily on what you're doing and what kind of system you have. I'm going to scale this up. Naman, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but yeah, there are a lot of complicated names here. It's hard to get each one right. I'm just going to blend this here with that. I think we can use, let's see, if we just use the mix node, we can use the overlay or multiply to make this texture a bit richer like that. And then this would be our diffuse. Think it's looking better already. We can also add in this kind of detail in there. So I'm just going to grab this, add a loop around here, select that edge, extrude on the X, something like that. And let's come back here, make this a bit sharp, like so. I think we need to UV unwrap this again. So Control E, maxim, and then I can just select this part, use unwrap, and yeah, we have something like that. Now we can go to the light, change its color a bit, something like that. I think looks much better. Use hue and saturation to make it darker. I think that's what I used. Yeah, I used it here, but will an i5 processor be enough to run Blender smoothly? And that's going to depend on what other things you have in your computer. So, Ajana Joel, I don't know why your voice sounds very similar. Ask NK. I guess. Ask NK. I'm not sure which side of Africa he's from, but I think he's from Africa, isn't he? So yeah, I guess our accents will likely sound similar. Let's see, this, that. What other details can we add in here? You know, I can also just do Alt D and make a duplicate of this or an instance of this, so that I can, when I want to edit, I just have to, let me first get rid of all these modifiers. So if I want to, and I think we need to have a mirror modifier for this. So I'm just going to do that, just so we make our job a bit easier. Looking excellent. Thank you. Yeah, so let's add a mirror modifier on this as well. Mirror, that's on the Y, like so. I can also do the same for this side, mirror. You can turn on clipping. Now we have that. Now, if you have the asset libraries, you can just reuse some of the assets you have already made. So let me reuse some things I've already done, because what's the point of repeating things if you have them? So I'm going to add in some cables here, like you see here. So I'm just going to grab this, just align it like that. So these are some cables I made in other videos, but they're simple curves, so they shouldn't be that hard to make. And if you look closely, there is something holding them. Can you convert product animation and rendering topics sometimes? Yeah, I think I can do something like that. 3ds Max or Blender? I need your honest answer. It depends on what you do, but I'm going to be very biased because I use Blender a lot. I've tried using 3ds Max, and I know how to use 3ds Max, but most of my content is Blender oriented because of my YouTube channel, so I rarely jump into 3ds Max. But it's a very powerful program. And yeah, more powerful obviously than Blender because it has a lot of VRs behind it. And actually I could just I want to have something to hold these things up, so I'm just going to do it manually like this. Extrude in video, no, extrude along normals. We have something that auto smooth, and let me change the normal to something like 45, 50, yeah, something like that. I want this to be, I think this cable would have something. So this is what is going to hold up the cables. So I want it to be something like this. So if I take a look at this, it would be something like that. And I think I can make it metallic. So I'll just go to this, add a new object, add new material. Call this metal, assign. I think we need to UV unwrap this. I'll just use box projection for that. Hello Frosty, how are you doing? Yes, also get this so we can have multiple stuff holding this together. So you can see very small detail, but I think adds a lot. And I think I can add in another kind of, I don't know, just a strip of wire to connect this to the wall. Just have to. It's looking good. I'm always a big fan of your lighting. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just going to create a strip here. I should use the metal material, and we can unwrap it. Just going to extrude it a little bit. You can. So it's just making it seem like it's what is holding the cables onto the surface like that. But we haven't added them here, so what I'm going to do is make a copy, Alt D, bring them here, and I just have to have them in the same position as this, and then Control L, link modifiers. Hello from Indonesia, how are you doing? Hey, Agang Randy. So we have, let's see, where is, okay, so these are our wires. I think we just have to move them onto the wall. And we can have some nice detailing. Like so. This also, so it has a mirror modifier, which should be mirrored to this side like that. So we have wires going in. If you look closely, there is also these kind of, I don't know, signal lights or emergency lights. I'm not really sure. But, let's see what we can add in. Let me see what else I can add in here. I also have some pipes that I can use here. But this scene here makes it seems like our lights are coming from nothing. The lights, we don't really have a light source. So let me look through my assets. Hey, where can I find your reel? I don't really have a demo reel. I haven't prepared one. And yeah, I don't really have a demo reel. Blender is the best. Of course it is. Hello, Bobby Y. What's up? How are you doing? How is your day? It's been a while, I think. Were you here yesterday? I don't remember seeing you. So, some light near the camera will make it better. Sure. Let me try that and see. So if I add a light here, let's try. Okay, that's a bit too much. Let's try something like 500. Something like that, you think? You had to get some sleep. Why do that? Why sleep when there is so much to do? You can't just take naps like 1 minute. Actually, I'm just kidding, man. Yeah, we always have to look out after yourself, man. And sleep is one of the basic needs. So if you're sleeping, that's very, very good for you. Good to see you back on the channel. Great to see you too. But I didn't watch YouTube. It was good. No problem. Deflex YT, what do you mean? How? Okay, so I think we can duplicate. Let me duplicate this and create these kind of lagging cables. Shift D, bring them up here. Actually, I can rotate them so they are something like this, and I make them kind of hang about. So I'm going to turn on proportional editing, and I think I can use, let me see, linear doesn't give us a good fall off. I just, something like this. Yeah, I think I need to have this set to connected only. And grab another bunch like this. Grab another bunch like this. And grab another bunch. like this. Now we can scale this on the x-axis. Apply the scale. Now if we look at this, this is what we're going to have, and we can have this set at the top there. So we also have some nice details hanging up on the surface like that. And for added detail, what we can do, we can have something that okay, this doesn't look too bad, so I think we can grab that. I don't know why I'm here, but it looks interesting. So Soulmate, a team. Are you not a 3D artist? And it's rare to get someone who's not really interested in 3D into my stream. But I'm wondering, are you a 3D artist or? And let's. I mean, how you made this. It was. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I thought it was a question, but I guess it's not really a question. Just want to have these lines duplicated, and are they going to act as like whatever is holding these lines up? And we can also make it more detailed by adding in extra lines. So I can add in maybe a cube. I love 3D product modeling, stroke animations, and 3D future modeling. My shot is furniture modeling. Since you are an experienced Blender user, 3D Max is Blender. Really need something I can buy my time. Well, when it comes to modeling, you're not really missing out if you're using any of the other, because they use the same basic tools. 3D modeling doesn't really change that much. They use extruding in 3ds Max. We use extruding here. It's the same thing that they use in Cinema 4D. So if you learn modeling in any of the application, you can do it in any other application. So that the modeling shouldn't be the decider for you. It is the extra tools that come with it. Okay, so yeah, I think that is okay. Now we just have to make an instance of this again, bring it in here. Should be Ctrl-L link modifiers, and it should be at the same position as this. So just grab it on the X. We shouldn't have any mirror, so we can grab this on the Z. Yes, just have this hanging like that. Great work. Really enjoy this over breakfast in UK. Nice breakfast, man. Send me some cookies. Or is it biscuit that side? Friend, can you use a spotlight at the end of the tunnel? Then it looked like train. Okay. Okay, some nice ideas there. So let's add a spotlight. -90, and set it to something like 1,000. So where would that be? So something like this. Okay, so I think we need 2 of these, something like that. But it doesn't really give the indication that the train is coming unless we add volumes, volumetric. So I can add in a mesh like this. Just going to set it to be viewport, set it to wireframe, and I'll give it a shader volumetric principal volume, and something like that. So right now the volume is a bit too thick, so I can reduce it to something like that, and that should give us the illusion that the train is coming. I'm just going to extend it a little bit, or maybe just have it like that. But I don't want it to overpower the scene, so what I'm going to do, let's see what we can do. I think your chat are 4 minutes late. Please check. Is that so? Yeah, if they, I'm not really sure what to do about that, because let me try refreshing and see. Hello from German, how are you doing, Sneaker? Okay, so I'm going to go in here. So I've just refreshed the chat to see if that will fix the chat being behind. So to get better resolution from volumetrics, what I usually do is just measure the distance from the camera and where the volumetrics are, and change my volumetric settings to be, so how long is this? 34 meters. 34, and that should give us better resolution than using all 100 meters, because now we are compressing most of the information within there. And let's play with the volume colors. Hey, you love it, DS. Oh, thank you. Glad you do. Okay, so one thing we are missing here is that our lights just kind of appear like they're coming from nowhere. Actually, what I'm going to do is, I think it will look much better if these are actually connected. I'm just going to grab this and turn on clipping and just have them connected. And I think I just need to grab these as well, instead of connect them like that. Maybe this also looks a bit too wide for a train track. So let's have something like that. And I think these things here should be a bit larger than what they are right now. Hey, thank you, DS, for subscribing. Really appreciate it. I'm going to make these a bit larger, something like this. I think this bolt should then come around here, maybe make it big as well. And just going to get rid of these. Just reuse this piece here. Shift D. They should be a bit closer. If D, something like that, something like that. Yeah, I think there is a lot of gap between here, so I'm just going to fix that like that. And let me see what other things I can add in here. We can add in more pipes, but nah, Let's see. Let me just go to my city, actually in my city pack. Let's see in my furniture if I have anything there. Or in my decors. Now let's see what else. Let's just create a light source for this. So I'm just going to create something simple. It shouldn't be that hard. Just going to use a cube, maybe elongate it a bit. Can you use a physical tube for light? Yeah, I think that's what let me do that, I think, because you're really catching me with my thoughts, so it's what I was trying to do here. Okay, so how you learn all that stuff? So just watching tutorials in the same way that you're doing right now. Although if you're just new here, you can leave a like and subscribe. It would really be amazing. So this is going to be our tube as Kamar as suggested. So we're just going to grab this, the extrude, Alt E, extrude, like so. And I think I can use auto smooth for this. Just going to change the normal smooth at something like 50 so that this is rounded. And the bottom part is going to be metallic. Control E, maxim. Just grab unwrap. This is going to be our metal. Let's just go into material mode. So this is going to be a metal surface. And now we're just reusing the rail material we created. And then we also need a light emissive material, so I'm just going to use shader emission. Hello 3D design, how are you doing? How is everything? So this is going to be 10, and it should take on the same color of, and we just have to select it now, assign that. Okay, things are becoming a bit laggy and slow, but yeah, so I'm just going to, and since we have this parent system, what I can do is select the light, this light, original light, snap cursor selected, and then these two selected. Just give it a rotation, 90 degrees, and maybe on the X, 90 degrees, or something like that. And now I can parent it to this object, and it should be repeated on all areas. Okay, actually, this is not the actual light. It's this light here. So cursor selected, and then selection to cursor, and then we should be able to see the light duplicated there. So can grab this light, because right now it looks like the light is suspended in the air, and just drag it a little bit like that, then rotate it, maybe make it wide, a bit larger like that. And we can turn on bloom, maybe make this something like 100. So we have something like that. Just going to grab this. Yes, mirror. Use a mirror instead. just use this for the mirror. Sorry, I can't subscribe because I already did last year. Yeah, that if you tried again, you would be unsubscribing. I'm your subscriber. Thank you, CG Waves. Nice project coming around at the bend. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to see what else we can do. I think I have some pipes like this. Adding them there would make things look better. And another thing we can do is we already have these wires. We can reuse them so that we have something going under. So I'm just going to duplicate this. I don't need the mirror modifier for this. Just going to rotate this 90 degrees and bring it down there. And I think we can make these wires a bit wider. So if I select them, Ctrl L. Now I see real beauty of lighting. Thank you. Alt S. Just want these ones to be a little bit thicker. I'm just going to get everything else and get them up. Thank you, Cristo Suicido, just for subscribing. I see. I want these to be at least visible in the scene. So I guess I would have to get rid of some of these. I want to get rid of some of these. Maybe something like that. Let me first dissolve. Grab this as well. Just bring it in the middle. Or something like that. And grab. So I can have the wires above or just a little bit under. I think we still don't see the them clearly, but I guess that's okay. We don't really have to see everything. And let's try adding a really bright light at the end of it. Let me just reuse this, because I think the spotlights are not really creating the light I hope they would. But let's see. Something. How about that? And to make it seem like there is actually a train there, I'm just going to select this, add something like a sphere. Just give it an emissive material. Set this to something like 1000. Okay, now it looks like there is a train. Is that what you meant, Kamal? Or something like that, yes. And I think if we added, let me try. Let me try something else here. Let's try. Actually, I think it's okay like that. It creates that illusion that there is an actual train coming. And let's see, how long has this gone? This has gone 135 minutes, which is good. Do you guys have any other ideas on what we can improve here, or what we can add in to make this look even better? So just a quick shout out to my decals add-on. Let me just show you how we can easily maybe add in something like what? Add in something like graffiti. Let me first put on some music here. Put on some music. Add some creature on the ceiling like Metro Exodus. That would be amazing, but I don't think I have any creatures. CG waves, maybe After Effects Houdini, DaVinci, to name a few, plus many others. Okay. It will give it a dark vibe. Maybe we can get something off of Mixamo. And yeah, let's try getting something from Mixamo and see. Let's get a creature from Mixamo. So I'll just characters. Okay, so I wanted to add in some graffiti on the wall. So let's do. This is another add-on. Let's find ourselves some graffiti to use here. And I think I have something in my resources, because actually we can even just add in some posters here. So let's add in this. So if you're using the deco add-on, you can easily add in these somewhere here. A junction box. Oh yeah, I think we can add in a junction box. I think I saw some of them here. Let's first add in here. So thank you for subscribing, Daniel. Really great. Yeah, I can add in this using the deco add-on, and if I wanted to kind of wrap onto the surface, all I have to do is scroll down to the add shrink wrap and select the wall as my surface, and you can see it makes it very super easy, like so. Let's grab it, something. But yes, here it looks a bit too plain or too new. So I can, using the add-on, which you can get by the way on my Blender Market link. What software do you use for compositing? I rarely do any compositing. Most of the render, if I'm doing any color touch-ups, it's usually within Blender or Premiere Pro. I don't really do a lot of compositing. So I want this to be kind of how is it called? To be a bit old. So I'm going to use a custom alpha here, and I'll find myself an alpha image. Resources. Let's use. I can even just use a grunge map like this, and use alpha, and that will help break up that, and I can play with the contrast to make it more old or less old. But now it looks a bit too bright for the scene, so I'm going to go into my materials and maybe darken it a bit with a different material color. Maybe change this to something like color. Or maybe it seems to be a bit reflective, too reflective, so I can go to other materials and play with the roughness a bit. Maybe this color is a bit too much. And just use a mix. Something like that. What's the add-on? So the add-on is called Deco, Quick Decos, and you can find it on my Blender Market page. Let me just share the link for anyone who wants to get it. So it's this here, and the asset library that I've been using to add in objects is this here if you want to get it. Yeah, so let's add in some graffiti. I can also just duplicate this since I've already spent some work on it, and we're going to use it as graffiti, maybe in somewhere here. And because it's using the same material, I'm just going to duplicate that. And to change this to add graffiti, I just need to find where I have my graffiti images. I think it's under resources, custom decos, no? It's under uncategorized, I think. Just grab this, all this here, and I can create alpha. If I turn off the mix, you can see that we already have that. I want to invert, create alpha. Let me first go to some of the settings we're using. So I'm using custom alpha here. I don't want to do that. I want to use this. No problem, man. Yeah, so I want this to be inverted. And let me first hide this. Just play with the contrast so that we only see the graffiti, and you can see. Let's have it somewhere there. Maybe give it a different color, reddish, maybe blue, reddy, whatever color. And if you look at it, you see that, let me shade smooth. You can see that the reflections are too kind of plain. You can also just use, so this makes the texturing a little bit easier. Instead of just going into the nodes, I can add in a roughness, a grunge map here for the roughness, to kind of make it a little bit scratched up as well. So something like that. Yeah, we have our train, we have our tracks. Let's see, why is this too, this looks a bit too bright, but I guess it's okay. I think I can make this deco a bit, scale this up for the alpha, because it seems we are losing quite a lot of detail. And just turn down the something like that, or just use a different deco because it for this is kind of looking a bit a different alpha map for this. Let's try something like this. Yeah, this is much better. Yeah, that is much better. If you like the add-on and also support the channel, you can get the add-on from the link I provided there. Think what is left would be just adding a few extra details and maybe a quick animation. Let's see what other details we can add in. Maybe some delicious lighting. Why SFM can't have that? Hey Naham, how are you doing? I couldn't really understand what you meant there. I think I'm running out of ideas on what else to add in here, so I'm about to end the stream since it doesn't seem like I'm going to add much to this anymore. So I had this light that I wanted to add in, so this is like a floodlight. So I can go into this object here and just add it in there. It's a nice floodlight. Yeah, thank you for subscribing, Blaze Albion. Thank you. Wastewater. Actually, that is an interesting idea. Let's add in this light and actually for this, if we add in this light, it should be a good way to light up the wastewater. So I'm going to add it. Okay, I don't have to add it directly there. So let's add in the wastewater and see. Let's first add in that kind of floodlight around there. It should be closer. Thank you guys for subscribing. That's Balachantraka for subscribing. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. Yeah. Okay, this has to be a little bit smaller. Let's add a point light there. Okay, so I can use an area light like that. I can just have it hang there. Okay, so let's try flooding this area. So to flood the area, we can just use a plane. So the issue is our surface is quite smooth and very flat. 100 likes. Let's go. Thank you guys for liking. Really amazing. It's very motivating. Anyway, so for the sewage, let's make the water really reflective. Thank you for subscribing, Risky Hidayat. Thank you for subscribing. Really appreciate it. I think we can use a transmission. And the issue we are going to have is that we don't really have. Okay, we can turn on screen space reflection. That's something I hadn't added yet. So it gives us that kind of reflective material. Waste paddles, thanks for the add-on. I need that. Yeah, really appreciate it. It's a good way to support the channel. Now I'm trying to add the wastewater, but actually this actually looks way cooler if we have this flooded. So I'm just going to make it look a bit flooded. The problem is that our water doesn't really have anything to reflect. If we tried adding an HDRI image, I kind of takes away some control over the lighting, but let's see how that is going to work. So I'm just going to go into my HDRIs and look for something that matches. So you see it becomes too bright. So maybe we can bring this a little bit down. Great tutorial, JRVFX. Thank you. These types of tutorials are what everyone needs. Environment creation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for the feedback. It really helps me know what you want to watch. So we want to have this as alpha blend for the blending mode, and we also want to have screen space refractions and also screen space refractions in here. Let me make sure that this so we want that flooded like that, but we don't want it to be too visible. So let's bring the transformation a bit back. Actually, we can also add in some noise map. So I'll use a noise texture, and this should drive other waves within the. If you use a vector, just going to displace the water to make it appear like there is some kind of waves. I actually like the flooding look quite better. But what I don't like is how transparent this is, that we are able to see everything. I think we can make it a bit darker by making the water more muddy, look a bit muddy. And less rough. And we just need to also play with the scaling of the noise just a bit. Yeah, I really think I need to upgrade my PC because now it's becoming a bit laggy for some things like this one. We want to scale the noise down enough so that I think this looks good now. The strength can be, I don't know, somewhere like there. What do you think, guys? Is this... Maybe make the detail. Yeah, I think it has to be a little bit detailed like that. Now for the color, let's play with the have something like that. So if we are creating a wet surface like this, and then this side also, the walls also have to be wet. So for that, what we can do is we can create a wet mask using the same technique we used. We can start with a geometry node and add some mapping node. Is water flowing or stagnant? So I guess if it's flowing, then it shouldn't have that many waves. Or it shouldn't be, it should be, something like that. And maybe the waves should be a little bit longer on the x-axis. So let's first create a mask for this, just to see how this is going to look. So let me grab this here. So I want to mask a wetness mask, otherwise it's not going to really look like this is flooded for real. So what we can do is have an object coordinate map connected to the vector of this. We need to have a color ramp here to convert this to a black and white mask. And we also need to have a convert separate X, Y, and Z. We want the Z because this is going to be our water line. So we can just move it a little bit down on the Z so that it's at the same level like that, and I can scale this up a bit so that we have more of a smoother gradient, something like that. And now we can bring the water line a little bit up, and then we just have to multiply or add it to blend it to this. You can just use it as a mask, and is going to be this. Actually, I need this to be inverted, so this is going to be darker like that, and you can see it's already giving us that kind of wet material. I can make this. Please make Iron Man flying VFX. That is a bit complicated for a live stream. It would take a lot of preparation. And I think we can also use this to make, because wet areas are usually more reflective, so we can grab this mask. So this is our roughness mask. We can create a mix node, grab this mask and use it as a factor to make this a bit wetter. Actually, it should be the inverse. Thank you, CG waves. I can see we can make it less reflective or more reflective, like that. Something like that, I think. Yeah, I think this also has to be a bit more reflective. And the noise should also be, because this is stagnant, the waves shouldn't be too large, like that. I think I can. Now, another value we can try using is the volume absorption, but it works best if you're using cycles instead of. It works best if you're using cycles because it adds a little bit of color depth into the material. Try mask grave with a dimension of 0 color with color to roughness. Okay, let me try that. Let's try that. Okay, so this is absorption. It kind of gives the water a little bit of depth. Let's bring this. It just needs to be. Okay, so you're saying, we can try mask grave. So that's under texture mask grave. With I say with a dimension set to 0 and set for the roughness. Let's see. Yes, I can play with the scale a bit. And maybe this could work, but I think we need to kind of blend it a bit so that it's not too contrasted. Okay, and shaders are taking a bit of time to compile here, but so we can. I think that can also work. something like that. Maybe let's use the same scale, the same vector for the noise as well. Noise. Thank you, just 3D. The waste vector is too big. Maybe it needs to be below the crack of the drain. What do you think? Okay, so you think it should be around here? Okay, I think somewhere here. So that would also mean we need to bring the water line a bit lower. Just grab something like that. And since we have this, we can also create some wetness on this here. So I think if we have this mask, which we should make more contrasted now, or we can just duplicate this part here, and because I want to create some pedals. Are they called paddles? Yeah, I think they're called paddles, but I only want them to be okay. Where is this? So this is supposed to be dark. So I only want them to be on the surface here. The water could be higher. Just check out flooded subway references. Okay, let's first make this here and see how it would come up, and then we can do that. Thank you, Jean Jasmine, for subscribing. Really appreciate that. So I can use a noise map here, a texture noise. Just have it something like that. Add a car ramp. So these are going to be like water paddocks, pedals. How do they call it? Paddles or something. Let's scale this, and just use color ban, just to only have this be affected. So if you use color ban, I think it can be this, or we can use multiply or screen. So let me see. I want to use this mask to affect the noise map, to only have the noise map here. So I can do something like this, and this is supposed to be mixed. Yeah, so this is what we want. And this is just going to drive the reflections. So I'm just going to grab this. This is going to be a factor. And this is going to be color 1. Okay, this can be color 2. And this can now be our roughness. And you see, I think you see the idea I'm trying to go for here. So make these surfaces a bit more reflective, but I think our noise is a bit stretched up, so it should need its own nodes here. So I'm just going to separate these. Actually, you just need to get these Ctrl T to add texture coordinate mapping like that. And let's look at this noise a bit. Maybe make it less contrasted like that. Hello, Cronion9. Thank you for subscribing too. Really appreciate. If you're new here and you have some time to subscribe, that would be amazing. What kind of PC are you planning to get? Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just something that has just come up. So I haven't really thought too much about it. But it should be better than this. So we have our weight maps there, but the problem is that they're the same color as the concrete. So let's try making it a bit dark and see. So we can use the same setup here. To make those water puddles a bit darker, like that. And I think the problem is that our noise is kind of a lot, so let's do something like that. What is your preference laptop? Right now, let me show you what I have a laptop already, but it's not the most powerful. I think it's a Dell G515. I'm just checking on it here. It's not that, it doesn't really handle much. So the one I have, it's not exactly this. Let me see if I've typed it. I think it is. No, this is a more refreshed version. The one I have is this here. Let me see if the specs match. Yeah, so it's exactly this. It's a 17. It's a 1050 Ti, 4GB. The storage is different. 8GB of RAM. I think I have 16 here. So I would definitely prefer something better than that. Maybe something with a 3080 Ti, a 3080 RTX. Yeah, desktop have more power than a laptop, and I'm working on a desktop right now, which has less specs than what I had. Maybe this should go slightly above. So I'm not really sure what else to add in here. Let me first get rid of the HDRI. So that's without any HDRI lighting. Now, if the water level was this high, this would look amazing. But I guess we did a lot of work creating those rails. It sucks that we have to hide them now because of the floods. It's yeah, so we have been streaming for about 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I think, yeah, this was some good time spent with you guys, and we did some good stuff. So yeah, we can definitely meet up tomorrow, which will be Sunday. Thank you, Jasmine Art and Creativity, for subscribing. If you have some energy left in you and you're new here and you want to subscribe, you can use that energy to do subscribe. It would be very amazing. And you can also leave a like. It would be amazing. Today we went over 100 likes, which is super cool. So thank you for everyone who has been in the stream and whoever liked the stream. Yes, so that's it. But before I go, I guess I can show you what we did in the last live stream. If you are interested in that. I think we did some motion graphics yesterday. re-render in cycles. Let me show you what we did yesterday and then try to re-render this in cycles. So yesterday we did some motion animation, so some motion graphics in animation in Blender, and we're trying to kind of create a UI, and this is what we created in the live stream. If you want to watch that, you can go watch that. We animated these. We looked at doing some tricks because I found that animating in Blender is much faster than doing it in something like After Effects. Yeah, so let's try doing this a quick preview in cycles and see if my PC won't just explode on me. So let's go to here, cycles. Let me change to GPU. The stream might lag a bit as the GPU is rendering, but let's hope not. You know what? I think this looks much better in cycles than Eevee because you get to see all the details. And I think we're seeing some, this is caustics, I'm not sure. Thank you, NASA, for subscribing, really appreciate it. Actually, this looks much better. Let me increase the samples a bit. And I'm going to give this a quick render and post the render on my Discord, in my Discord server. If you're interested, let me send a link because I think this looks much better than Eevee. You can see the volumetrics. We just have to increase the samples, and since we have, you can even see some of the rails. So let me just grab this, just have it just a little bit, show off the rails just a little bit like that. So you can get, if you want to see the final render, I'm going to give this a quick render and post it on my Discord if you want to check it out. But maybe let me turn on. Thank you for subscribing, Catalina. I'm sorry, I can't read that. It's I'll just bite my tongue trying to pronounce that. But we can play with some colors and see high contrast. Maybe even use some curves. Play with the contrast a bit. Yeah, so I'm going to give this a quick render. I'll see you in the next stream, and you can check out the final work